Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Commentary as Magic Stream on today, Sunday, August 14th, 2022. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
Big Cheese.
Arcat and
Ivory Starlight.
I think every time I go through that intro, I slightly further space apart the two parts of my name.
Isn't that the point?
I mean-
At that point.
I mean, yes. But that's only because I feel like if I don't, I'm going to go back, hear the recording, and then say, I really do
Grandpa?
sound like, yeah, I really do sound like I'm just saying, get off my lawn, you kids.
I mean, you're also saying that, but that's okay.
now what's actually going on here is on the very first stream, JP snuck a grand in there somewhere. And the pause that he says at the start of the next stream is actually the completion of that. And then
There we go.
he says grand. And that, goes until the next stream. So he's actually sitting here with like a 2-week pause in between grand.
That's a pretty spectacular gap there. Gap of time. It's a pretty special period of waiting.
Pause.
Why?
Like
Why
how
you-
long we've waited since the last Continentals?
Yes. There we go, getting us back on track. It has been almost a year. How about that?
It's been slightly more than a year. Because Everfree moved a little bit.
That's right.
Which is why Ivory is very annoyed right now.
I think
Yeah.
this weekend was Everfree. Last year.
Yes, it was. This was the original date. This current weekend we are on was the
Oh,
original
yeah.
date they announced.
And then they were like, whoa. We can't just have, Ivory being able to participate in Continentals again.
Yes, it was me and me alone that caused Everfree to push forward 2 weeks.
Yep.
If
Sure
only
was.
I were that important.
Doing a little bit of Emperor Palpatine. I will make it legal.
Something like that. Speaking of making it legal, and Continentals coming up here, we have an obligation. And given that there are several new players here in the community, and maybe even some new people here watching the stream, they may be unaware of exactly what happens before major events like that. So, Ara, do you want to kind of give the synopsis?
Give the speech.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to go somewhere wildly tangential with this, but then I couldn't come up with anything that I could say on stream. So, before we get into what we're running, we'd like to take a moment and remind people why we're discussing this. So, to state the obvious, the four of us, just like you, well, mostly, except for myself and Ivory this year, I'm judging, and Ivory, well, date conflicts because Everfree moves time. And, this is maybe a bit selfish, but we like to play in major events ourselves because, we like playing the game, and that's a big part of why we sit here and organize events and make cards and make sets and do all of these game curation things that are needed to make the game continue to roll. And we hope that you won't blame us for wanting to play the game. Now,
we know some of you will. That's okay. We don't take it personally. I take it a little personally.
Anyway, so playing in the events we're organizing might seem like a little bit of a conflict of interest. Perhaps we're planning on loading some secret combo deck and wrecking the meta, or just, wanting to win all the promos for ourselves. And it's
only one of them.
It's not. And this is part of the reason that we're presenting our decks, to be transparent and to give other players the chance to adapt and be secure in knowledge that we're not attempting to, wreck the meta. It's our meta. Why would we break our own things? Ew.
I don't know, Cheese. Why would we break our own things?
Hey, I haven't broken things since 20 something.
Also, what are you talking about? You are the dirty combo player here among the four of us, Ivory.
Oh, yes, I am definitely the only one who's ever played combo in Continentals. No one else has ever done that out of the four of us.
I have literally never played combo in Continentals, even though I should have. Fight me.
I think GP can actually say that with a straight face, yes.
GP can, none of the rest of us can.
Correct.
No, and I regret it, because now by going into the OP position, I can never do it again.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm not bitter. You're bitter. Anyway.
So this might seem like a little bit of boasting that we're so confident in our decks that we're revealing them 2 weeks ahead of time, and we're totally secure in the fact that no one will be able to take us out. No, this is not how this works. Grandpa's and Big Cheese were up. How late were you up last night? Like, bickering over like a 1-card difference?
Yes, like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's going to continue.
And up like 1 or 2 a.m. the night before. And the previous weekend.
And you've probably been thinking about it like constantly for the past week, agonizing.
Yes.
We actually wanted to like put some effort in.
Well, and you're sitting here also being like, can I have another week, please? And like,
I mean, I just would have liked the testing to be spread out a bit. You know, I will say this: last year, or perhaps the year before, was very challenging. No, I think it was last year. Last year was very challenging. I was sitting there sweating, trying to figure out what on earth I was going to run. I feel like I am confident that this is a deck I want to run this year. I just wish that it could have taken place more naturally.
Instead of having to sit here and figure out everything in the course of a scant few days.
Well, we had Online Con. That was like, I don't know, it felt like we've had fewer major events this year.
We had Online Con, we had BabsCon.
We did actually, we did actually get BabsCon.
Yeah.
Vancouver didn't run.
Yeah, that's true.
And we had one other online event earlier in the year, and I think that was basically it.
Yeah. So maybe a little less testing, but anyway. You're going to go to war with the army you got. Well, mostly.
Right.
So to keep us from going crazy here, we are going to give a small allowance of up to 5 cards different, added, removed, swapped, whatever, from these lists that we're about to preview. Now, this is a little bit more than we have in the past because of sideboards, but you must adapt. And
hasn't it always been 5?
Nope, it used to be 3.
We did 3 cards before sideboards were created, but
yeah.
Since sideboards last year, we've done that.
Yeah. And so, like I said before, we're just trying to be open and honest about the fact that we just want to play with cardboard ponies. And hope that you will all have fun playing with cardboard ponies alongside us.
Absolutely. Playing with cardboard ponies is tremendously fun. Now let's talk about how we can remove all of that fun for our opponents.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you guys are first.
Yeah.
Let's not go to the list quite yet.
We're very lucky you said that. Exactly when you said you did.
Yeah, I would like to see if there is anyone in chat, Bugle is not allowed, who wants to hazard a guess as to what we might be playing.
Does Bugle already know?
Bugle doesn't know exactly, but he might have suspicions. Because I will bet that just about any guess that comes through that chat is going to be wrong.
I don't know. You have a history.
If Bugle says Mono Pink Farm. Alpha Dog says My Little Pony, the collectible card game. I am defeated.
Correct.
Yep.
Wrong. He's playing Kaijudo.
We're playing Magic.
How much was that bet again? Because I think you just lost.
Yeah, I lost. It's like when you walk up to a guy on the street and he's like, "Hey, I bet you $20 I can tell you where you got your shoes."
The shoe store.
You got your shoes on your feet.
Alright.
You owe me $20.
Okay,
Nice.
what monstrosity have you created?
Something that hasn't existed in this exact arrangement throughout this entire meta.
This actual design of the deck hasn't existed previously in the game. Like, the archetype has, but not the way it's implemented.
Yeah.
I already don't like this deck.
This deck is 5 colors.
Technically.
Yeah, because of Wrath of Gilda.
Yep.
I think there's a 1-card difference between these two.
Yep.
Or between you two.
So this is Grandpa's list. And this is Chase's list.
Oh, you know what? I think we've got one thing. Yeah, actually, mine should have a lacking in there instead of a searching high and low as well. Oops.
You've got like 15 seconds to rescind that.
I've got the new list here. My bad. There we go. All fixed.
Okay.
So we have, I see some usual offenders
That
in
change
here.
was made like 30 minutes ago, by the way.
Yes, it was.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're actually going to talk about these two decks together.
So first off, what is it? Well, many of you can probably figure it out. It's Chaos Control. An archetype that I have not played since pre-rotation.
2017?
That's about right.
2018, actually.
I thought it was 18, but yeah.
Yeah, it's 18.
Yeah, 2018. And it was great back then.
Doctor Who's. More Doctor Who's. And
Apple Bloom or Applejack. I'm Factory Organizer. I mean, the deck was just ridiculous. The ultimate goal of Chaos Control is to, as the name implies, control the game through the use of chaos effects in face-offs and finding ways to start those face-offs. And because chaos effects don't necessarily require you to have additional action tokens or color to trigger their effects, you can get some pretty interesting things going on. Cheese, you also played Chaos Control back in 2018.
Yeah.
What would you say the big differences are between the old versions of Chaos Control and the new version that we have here?
Well, the old version of Chaos Control required you to have a notebook and a pencil or a pen and record both the top and bottom of your deck a fair number of cards deep and not lose track of anything. Because you were actually pretty good at getting cards from the bottom of your deck, and you needed to recycle them. And here, it actually works a bit differently. We don't have hooves anymore, and so you're relying a little bit more on just flipping more cards and kind of, or setting with Pinky Sense to get more effects.
Right. This is not going to be as effective a deck at creating kind of the lock, the repetitive lock of I'm going to flip the same card every face-off forever until I decide otherwise.
Yeah. We don't talk about that deck.
Sure. I mean, we can talk about that deck in like a boy, I'm glad that doesn't exist anymore perspective. That being said, there is still something kind of resembling a loop here. Cheese, do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so and this is actually one of the most interesting cards in this deck, at least for me, is Baby Flurry Heart. So it's, in case you can't read it, it's exhaust this card to start a face-off involving this card and opposing friend. If you win, you may put one of the cards you flipped for the face-off into your hand. And it is 4 cost, but it passes the Thunderlane test. It is allows you to do one of 2 things, and that is you can either keep flipping the same card, or you can actually use it just as draw. If you have Pinky Sense out, you do need Pinky Sense to flip the same card repeatedly. Oh yes, and it is stubborn, which means that like you can actually start aggroing. Like if you look at this problem deck, this is not a control problem deck. This is solid mid range. So this card really lets you either dig deeper in your deck and just get extra draws, while potentially also getting the chaos benefits from it, or it lets you just cycle a card. Just all depending on what you need to do.
Flurry is definitely one of the most impactful cards that you can get in this deck, as it is not only a large body that can contribute to gaining you points, as she said, but any additional sources of starting face-offs, especially since this list does not run Troublemakers currently, is very, very crucial.
Yeah.
Now, the card that I really like in here that also synergizes well with Baby Flurry Heart is Spike and Gabby. Spike and Gabby don't give you additional power like strictly in face-offs, but by allowing you to flip additional cards for each copy of Spike and Gabby in play, and then choose your favorite to keep among those, you can artificially increase your flip average by being able to ignore an inconsistently low flip card. What's great about this is that even if you ignore a card's power for a face-off, if it was a chaotic card, its chaos effect still triggers. So the more Spike and Gabbies you can get, the more additional flips you can get, and this means that every source of face-offs becomes valuable when you have Spike and Gabby, because regardless of what the outcome of that face-off is, you can just go fishing for chaos effects. There are quite a few that are in here between Tantabus and Spike and Gabby themselves, Tender Taps, Chaos Magic Blast, Mysterious Disappearance. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can flip that will be meaningful. And the fact that Spike and Gabby also kind of have a higher flip average than normal because they let you flip an additional card if you flip them is very nice. They're cheap, they're low rec, and they make every face-off that much better for you.
And Tender Taps can bring them back into play.
Ah, yes, Tender Taps can bring them back into play. That's very relevant.
Yeah, and so the next card in here that I really like is Bodyguards. I was actually a big kind of debate getting Bodyguards in here because my general opinion is that Bodyguard doesn't actually give you any AT. This deck used to have special delivery, or what's that card called?
Same day delivery.
Same day delivery. For AT with Pinky Sense, but really you want to be using your Pinky Sense for more important things. And so it's like, oh, let's put Bodyguards in. And if you actually look at the deck, there's a lot of removal here of things that like trigger Bodyguards. You've got Tantabus, Discord, Bodyguards itself technically, Belly Flops, and Chaos Magic Blast.
And Smile. Smile does it too.
Does Smile? Oh, because it can put... Yeah. I forgot that mode of Smile. Yeah, and Smile. So, sadly, Wrath of Guild isn't gonna trigger it. But, so it has... Please explain to me what Bodyguard... No. No, if you... although the important thing of Bodyguard is that friends leave play, you get unicorn tokens with Prepared. Prepared. Start a face... When an opposing player starts a face-off, here, gain an AT.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's... It ends up being kind of relevant. Like, you will gain some AT off of it in most matchups. And like we have Mistmane, we have things that we like AT for.
Even if it doesn't end up gaining you AT, it is likely to present a bit. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Your opponent may choose a less aggressive line of play if it means you not gaining 2, 3, 4, 5 plus action tokens.
Yeah. And Tender Taps brings it back, so yay.
I think another card that I really like in here actually factors into a reason why I like this deck overall, which is there are a lot of options for sideboard tweaking and toolboxing here. Not every card has to be set in stone, as evidenced by the fact that Cheese and I are actually one card different in our main deck right now. But of the possible sideboard cards, I think that Somnambulist Blindfold is my favorite, because it is very, very impactful in what I expect to be present in this meta. First off, it is worth noting that Blindfold has already been used to good success in stopping decks that manipulate their discard pile, right? So any kind of Reanimator list, obviously that has a much harder time. Mistmane, an opposing deck that might want to loot Mistmane, okay, well, that's not going to work. If your opponent has a very key friend that they want to protect with Golden Parachute, well, they can't use Golden Parachute's ability from the discard pile if Blindfold's in play. But it also stops searching. And that means that things like finding an opposing friend, finding one of your own friends with Smile, 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 or using the Grogar Epic Troublemaker to find another Troublemaker, or using adoption options to find your 3 key critters in a yellow deck. None of those work. You can use bodyguards to retire a friend, but you can't actually manipulate problem decks either. So Blindfold does have some anti-synergy present with this deck. This deck is also running Tender Taps. This deck is also running Mistmane. This deck is running Smile. Like, it seems kind of weird that you would run it, but there are decks that will care far more about Blindfold being in play than you will. And the great thing about the resource removal in this list is not only is it kind of repeatable, but it can hit your own just as easily as it can hit your opponent, and for once, that's not a downside.
Yep. I actually want to answer Bugle's question. Being 5 colors, do you feel 8 entries enough, especially when Foth is only 2 and not 3? So if you look at the entry requirements, so pink is whatever, we have Skystar. Orange and white, we only need 2. So pretty good there on Foth. Now we do have blue and purple. Those aren't as critical to get out. In a matchup against Farm, Discord is pretty important, but otherwise it matters a bit less. Like, we generally don't ever want to play Mysterious. It's generally want to flip it. And Wrath is, played late. You don't need a knot. So especially in the early game, considering that all of the entry options get into the cards we want to play early, it's not really a concern. And I don't think we've ever really had entry issues.
It's also worth noting that you have the option to start with Mystery as well, which can easily end up finding a piece of color entry, which is good. And if you just have a Pinky Sense early alongside a Tender Taps, you can use that to pitch a Spiking Gabby or a Bodyguard and then use a Tender Taps Chaos effect to get them into play.
Yeah.
So through the additional manipulation of your flips, and your discard pile and just setting things up, coupled with Mystery being able to search and find a colorless card, and then really only needing 1 to get one of your 2 primary colors going, 8 has not been a problem so far. Even against decks that do run heavier on resource removal.
Yeah, I guess another card I want to talk about is Stapis Canis. Face-offs are good. You don't even care if you literally can't frighten the friend that you're targeting. It's still worth. just because of how much chaos abilities are in the deck and how reliably you can hit them.
I mean, we had a game last night where I had, a Twilight Endless Friendship in play.
Yeah.
And you were using Staff to start face-offs against her.
Yep.
And it was a good move.
Yep. Hitting either Chaos Magic Blast or even better, Tantabus would have been real nice. Now, sadly, I did it, but it was still the right move.
Yeah. I think the last thing I kind of want to touch on here is that there are a lot of shared cards between this list and other lists that are present in the meta that are doing completely different things, because normally when people end up finding good disruption tools or good win conditions, you'll see those across multiple decks. This is not the only deck that will be running Belly Flop. This is not the only deck that will be running Chaos Magic Blast, or Smile, 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 or Wrath of Gilda, or Melted Expectations, you know? But the fact that you can utilize these numerous face-offs, since this does appear to be a relatively face-off heavy meta, to get a couple additional uses out of those cards without having to consume them by, playing them, really gives this deck an edge. You feel the difference when you are trying to match removal for removal with your opponent, and then being able to get even just one or two free uses out of it, or offset some of your opponent's removal by bringing back one of your cheap, impactful friends with tender taps. It is meaningful.
Definitely. Yeah.
So why the DJ?
So why the DJ?
So why the one card difference? Why the DJ?
I think in longer matchups, being able to bring things back can be pretty impactful, especially this resetting your whole thing. And I like it. I don't know if it's 100% the right decision, but the DJ is cool.
It is also worth noting that the position that Cheese and I are in regard to DJ versus the third belly flop is the exact opposite of where it was last night at 2 a.m.
I was the one that suggested the third flop, yeah.
Yep. Yes, Cheese and Nugget. Okay, I think that's enough about chaos control for now.
Yeah.
Also, the hysterical recreation. I mean, I like double chaos effects. That's it.
Yeah, it's fun when you get it to happen.
Even at the cost of a not pink problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flurry can meet that not pink by herself. Is it not hysterical recreation? Oh, it's something.
No, it's the
diplomatic debacle. That's the one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prison Light. I'm going blind in my old age. Okay, Aura, you're judging, which means you get to deal with all the rules questions associated with this deck. You're welcome.
The fun rule question of does Flurry Heart hit things in the flip zone or cards that you flip?
Oh yeah, that one.
So we've already gone through a couple iterations of this, and the only thing I'm promising is that by the end of the tournament, I'm going to have a headache.
It's always the same people, too.
Correct.
Now, if you had not put yourself in this position and decided that you wanted to be the headacher instead of the headachy...
No, that's not how this works. So, what I'm going to be playing is Dance Puppets. And that's playing the judge game. And really, I think I'm the puppet, because guess who comes running when any player yells judge?
Ha.
So, what I'd be playing is Couch Potato, because I am the element of lazy, and Fluttershy Nurturing Nature is my spirit animal. We've seen this before. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here, because we've seen it so many times before.
It's yellow.
It's yellow.
That's a lot of yellow.
It is entirely yellow, in fact.
The Novo and Terrified Scream is an interesting synergy. So you can have Novo there to like make your opponent try and start a face-off with low power.
And then be like, haha.
And then make her go away. It is...
And then make her not be involved, which does put you down 2 power, but also means that the effect doesn't work.
Ara, have you considered using Thorax as your main instead? Everything has 2 or less power.
He's not wrong.
He is wrong. Patagium has 4.
I will give you an answer.
Patagium.
No, I will give you an answer to this, but only in person at Everfree.
I think this answer
Are you
might
bringing
involve...
the Thorax plush?
Yes.
Are you going to boop the snoot?
No.
Vigorously?
Yes, I'm going to vigorously boop the snoot. Possibly off of the table.
Fair enough.
No.
I mean, this is a very aggressive deck.
It's yellow go fast with the Triad Troublemaker gone. One of the more major concerns for aggro decks, I believe, is now gone. And the new Troublemaker is not much liked unless you're going to run hard control. So even if we're playing a farm-ish heavy meta, I'm less worried about that. This does, of course, have several ways through or around Troublemakers, so,
Fair enough. Ivory?
Me. So, obviously, due to schedule conflicts with the date change, I will not be able to be at Everfree this year. I will actually be commentating on the top cuts, but I'll take this time to remind people that Farm does still exist. It might look a little something like this. Maybe not exactly, but I do think that Blue-Pink Farm still has a good shot at doing well, even with the Triad ban. There are a few differences here than when I used last. The Somnambula's blindfolds obviously needed to come back in because, well, you've already seen one list that likes to bring things back with tender taps. Reanimator is obviously still out there, which meant that the Gallus and Silver Streams had to come out, which is disappointing because I always liked running those. But, you know, things happen.
Free cards are fun.
Yeah. The Troublemaker card counts here might not be correct, but, I mean, there's no other options, so...
Feathers would be ashamed, but yeah, you're doing about as good as you can here, I think.
Yeah. This is probably not the most optimal version of Blue-Pink Farm, but I mean, this is as close as it's gonna look, at least for me, because you know I'm not gonna be there, so I'm not putting forth the amount of scrutiny and effort required to optimize it.
You go to bed instead.
I'll just talk about people who optimized it.
Going to bed instead sounds like a better option.
What's a good deck name?
What's a good deck name?
Going to bed instead.
Go to bed instead?
Yeah.
What are you playing? Go to bed instead.
It runs bedtime.
Yep. Of course it does.
And then you get disqualified because that's an EO
Not
card.
a Harmony list, yeah.
EO block adventure.
For what it's worth, I still really like the Blue-Pink Farm with Soleno as like the peak farm choice right now. Mostly because that Squawk sitting over there.
Look at all those burbs.
Well, you have Solano, so you already can abuse Tempest Shadow to get easy points, and then yeah, Wrath of Gilda's just so good.
For
And
anyone, for anyone who
chances
complains,
are-
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say, chances are, if you're bothering to play Wrath of Gilda, you're gonna have less friends than them, so you're easily gonna get that for 3 costs.
Yeah, for anyone who complains about Wrath of Gilda now, I'd like to know if at any point in the last 3 years you complained about the fact that Party of One was gone. And if you did, then you're not allowed to complain about Wrath of Gilda. I'm revoking that privilege. Everyone wants board wipes until board wipes are actually there, playable. Actually, you can complain about Wrath of Gilda if the full context for why you're complaining about it is because it doesn't work with bodyguards. That's okay. Complain about that all you want.
That seems like a relatively narrow exemption here. I think I'm gonna forbid that one.
Are you?
Yeah. Now,
Okay,
if you're
that's-
playing with bodyguards, you know what you did.
Bodyguards has kind of had the siren song going recently. There are some people who have not cared for that card in the past that are looking at it now. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I mean, I've never cared for it, so...
You're running mono yellow, so you're okay. You're in the clear.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Maybe.
So, just to briefly recap one more time, those lists are where we are currently standing. Each of us is given 5 card slots across the draw and problem deck to alter as we see fit, and I guess technically the main as well, but I'm not going to do that.
Dang, I guess I have to disqualify myself because I'm running exactly 0 of those 50 cards.
Yeah. But that'll at least put you close. So, good luck. Have fun testing if you care about that. And if not, you'll see some version of those at Continentals. Speaking of Continentals, tips, tricks, suggestions, recommendations?
Well, Bugle asks about adventure decks. See, I wasn't even thinking about that. I don't think I can Katamari Damacy my way to victory with Balloona Farm again.
I bet you could. I don't know what I'd play. I'll go. I'd play Reanimator. I might not play Reanimator. I might play. I don't know what I'd play.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't even know if I can.
Yeah, with the schedule as tight as it is not necessarily possible for us to make all of the events other than just Continentals.
Yep.
I had to harass Everfree to move my panel.
Yeah, there were
Again,
No, just the first time.
It's in an okay place this time. It did not used to be in an okay place because it's just like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and pause the second part of Swiss for an hour and a half. Yeah, that's gonna go over well.
No.
And then of course we have Draft, which we sincerely hope that Pages will be able to make it back down, because the cube is a blast. And if he's here, it's here. And if not, I've got so many packs. So many packs.
So many packs?
This bad boy can fit so many packs. I don't think I'm going to be able to carry them all. Anyway, so this being a convention and you playing card games, standard reminder, bring extra dice and sleeves. Sleeves will split sometimes. Dice get lost. Try not to lose them, but you know, things happen, so maybe have some extras on hand.
Print your deck lists out in advance.
Please print your deck lists out in advance. I really do not have to like building these things by hand in Ponyhead, and it makes it so much easier.
Make sure to use A1 paper.
You know what? I'm gonna sit here
Or
and-
A2,
A4.
whatever it is. A4, yeah.
Yeah.
No, use A1 is the giant, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, use A1.
Okay, if your deck list is bigger than the table, I reserve the right to disqualify you. I want to see how your opponent deals with that. Someone's going to bring their deck list, like, taped to a piece of poster board now. I've doomed myself, haven't I?
Probably.
It should also be noted this is a tier 3 event. This is rules being held in the strictest of strictest form.
Yeah, so during the championship event, be on your best behavior. If the judge gets called over, it goes by the book. So, if you're unsure how something works, call the judge. If you don't like how something is going, in contrast to the rules, call the judge, etc.
Let's see. Any other?
Let's see. Oh, Ponyhead does have a thing that will attempt to verify your deck's legality. These are enhanced a little bit from last time, so it'll yell at you if you have too many cards, not enough cards, etc. Do be sure to make sure that your deck is legal before you enter. Please, thank you.
Do we actually know that it is now 100%? Like, if it says it's legal, it's legal. Did we do the triad?
Yes, the most recent update has been reflected.
Yeah, the triad ban is in there. It now attempts to verify that you don't have too many cards of a given name and have enough cards of the appropriate types to actually have a legal deck list.
Cool.
I don't think I'd trust it 100%, but if it says it's wrong, odds are it's wrong.
If it hasn't already been mentioned, you are going to be having a lot of fun at Continentals. It is a blast to play in these events, to see some really cool competitive decks from all around the country, and in some cases even the world. With that being said, do remember that COVID and its variants are still out there.
Everfree is mask mandatory, and masks must be properly worn. I'm going to be a little bit meaner about this than maybe the con requires, because people who are playing in these events are going to be sitting 30 inches away from each other, facing each other, 4 hours at a time. So please, wear your masks properly, don't make me yell at you, etc. Go home, stay healthy. You know, getting sick is bad, so maybe don't.
To answer Bugle's question in chat, do we have Ponyhead links for these lists? Yes, they will be posted as comments on the announcement stream on Reddit, and then probably also in, I don't know, general or something like that on his Discord later.
And check in the usual places in the video descriptions.
Yep, those two.
And it's a con, so 621, drink water, eat meals, take breaks. See the rest of the con. There's an entire city. Lots of food.
So much food.
6 meals, 2 showers, 1 hour of sleep.
Yep.
I can't make the joke about cookies being food.
Cookies are food.
Pure sugar.
There is no cookies here. That's the problem.
That's a bag of sugar.
I mean, there's a grocery store within walking distance of the venue, so yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Just roll into the CCG room and take a spoonful of sugar. Every
It's
15
actually
minutes.
a spoonful of MSG.
Now I want to sing the stupid song.
Alright, I
cannot-
need you to swap out the bag of sugar with a bag of MSG. That way when Cheese tries to eat it, he like gags. Cause raw MSG is not that great.
Let's go lick the salt block.
No, licking the
If
salt
it's
block
even
is
there.
licking the salt block is explicitly forbidden.
I think it says it on the label.
Now,
It said it on the label before COVID. It really says it on the label now.
there's a document somewhere for the salt block rules.
6 glasses of water, 2 tournaments, 1 deck list.
See-
I mean, you can run a core legal deck in Adventure. That's fine, sure.
Yep, seems fine.
Also, we will have an announcement up in the next 2 weeks here with our exact streaming schedule. We're getting a few things finalized, but for those of you who are choosing not to or otherwise unable to attend in person, do not worry. You will still be able to catch, at the very least, all of the constructed fun of the Continental Championship with live commentary. Animoy says, please stream everything. We will stream as much as we can.
We had good luck with the bandwidth last year, and if that keeps up,
Yeah. Like, I think the only thing we don't stream is, like, card selection during draft.
yeah, and that's merely because that's not, like, we
We
can't
would need a, like,
drag the stream
camera
table
crew.
over. Yeah.
you need a camera crew to, like, walk around and stuff or something. I don't know.
Anyway, for those of you who are traveling, we will look forward to seeing you there. But for now, I think that will about wrap up our discussion on Everfree for today. We would like to give a big shout out to all our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron, but you enjoy what we do, please consider donating. Doing so does enable us to continue making content and lets you earn some great perks as a bonus. If you have comments or questions you'd like to send our way, feel free to reach out to us through Facebook, Twitter, or email. If you're a patron, you can also chat live with us on Slack any day, anytime, especially in the 2 weeks in advance of Continentals, where there will be much late-night testing going on.
I'm gonna exit out on that one, because I'm sitting here being like, I could go to bed. Except I can't, because I've got another panel to write.
Rip.
Rip.
Finally, if you are looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings, like from Continentals last year, you can find them on our YouTube channel, linked just below the stream. Look for the ones that talk about fire alarms. Those are especially good.
That would be the top 4. I think it even
With all
says
that-
fire alarm in the title.
It probably
It
does.
does. It does. I remember you putting it there.
With all that said, thank you to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later. We are, as always, Commentary is Magic. I am, as always, Grand.
Big cheese.
Arcat, and
Pause.
Going to bed instead.
I was really hoping we'd get through that fast enough so I could smash the stop to stream button before GP said anything.
Got it.
Well, foiled. We have our fun. We'll see you at Everfree.
Bye.
But